Alabama is my home state, and I live in the northwest corner, and about 60 miles east of me is a city called Huntsville. Huntsville is home to Redstone Arsenal. Redstone is a large military installation that has an active army post on it, and there they do a lot of missile and munitions testing and research. But it's not just army, because NASA also has a presence there. As a matter of fact, at NASA, Redstone developed and tested a lot of what got us to the moon. So there's a lot of cool stuff that has and continues to happen at Redstone. And recently, Dad had some important business to take care of there. So while he was shopping for bullion cubes and vegetables, I decided to hit up the PX. The exchange is part of the Army Air Force Exchange Service, and growing up in the Air Force, I visited the BX a lot. Well, this is the PX. It's the same store, just post-exchange versus base exchange. And I know they have bikes inside. So what kind of bikes do service members have access to at a PX or a BX? It's very big boxish. There's lots of Dynacraft and lots of Upland. Now, I do know the Dynacraft name. They make Next bikes that I've seen at Walmart and Target, but there are also a few Pacific Cycle products. I saw a couple of Schwinn's and a couple of Mongoose bikes. One nice thing about shopping in an exchange is that all the products are tax-free for service members. So what you see is what you pay. So looking at the rack, looking for anything to stand out, I saw that $199 Upland and that $98 bike beside it. Here's another Upland with a Mirex Finis style fake taper headset. This bike also has dual disc brakes. They're mechanical, and also it's a 29er, at least per the frame sticker on the bottom of the down tube. Next to it's another Dynacraft, but this one looks to be a kid's bike, and beside that, an Upland women's full suspension bike. Now it says this is $199, but I see rim brakes and a steel frame and that $59 looking suspension, and look, Shimano free wheels. This thing's gotta be heavy, and in my opinion, probably not the best dollar per feature combination, but I'm sure it's making someone happy somewhere, so to each their own. I didn't expect to see a Upland Valor road bike, and I'm not a road bike guy, so I don't know much about them, but to me, this doesn't look bad for $289.95. There's another Dynacraft kids bike, and then down on the bottom rack, check out this men's Stinger. I mean, look at those square tubes and also those sternum buster bar ends. There are more bikes, a girl Schwinn, a couple more Uplands, and then there's an empty space. And I'll get to that in just a second, but first there were two extra bikes down on the floor. There was an Upland Raider, and specifically the women's Raider. I want to look at that for a second. $199.95. And that gets you a bike with Shimano Easy Fire trigger shifters and also handlebars that are 31.8 millimeters in diameter. And that's with a threadless headset with a 4-bolt bar mount stem. And the frame is alloy, and the 3x setup, I mean, that's very typical. But it does say that it's Shimano branded as far as the derailleurs go. With the front one, it's not Tourney, it's just Shimano, but in the rear, you do get a Tourney. It's also a Shimano branded freewheel, so really not bad for $199.95. Next to it is the women's version of a men's bike that's on the rack in that empty spot I talked about a minute ago. Now, I have momentary lapses every now and then. I could have looked over this clean bike, but for some reason, I went to the one on the rack. One that's essentially a bird toilet. And I barehanded this thing off the rack. I mean, maybe I was lulled by the Carbon X looking black and neon green. Well, it actually had more to do with me looking straight on at that vapor. And then when I look up, look at one from a different angle, I start to question if maybe there's an adapter that slides in an insert. I don't think that it is, but it's something I'd really like to take apart just to see. Too bad that I didn't have a way to get this home, or could have left with it, or one new in the box, because only $119. Remember, no tax. It's the men's Upland Valor 29er. Has an alloy frame, Shimano derailleurs, front and rear disc brakes, just all that bird muck. Even though it does only have a 2-bolt stem, it is a threadless headset, and it has Shimano Easy Fire trigger shifters. Now, I couldn't get past the bird poop enough to tell if the saddle is good or if it isn't, but it does have an alloy frame, and the front suspension, it's typical for a big box bike, but I find humor in the fact that on an Army post, a bike called Valor has a front fork branded RCX Tactical. It's also a quick release on the front wheel, and the disc brakes are branded Logan. Never heard of that brand before, but at least they're not rim brakes. Crankset's on the lower inside. It's Upland branded, but it's like the Huffy Nighthawk's crank arms in that it's small, thinner crank arms with a plastic housing, making them look thicker. The front derailleur is branded Shimano. It's not a Tourney, but at least it's Shimano. And the rest of that crankset, it's all stamped and riveted, as expected. On the rear, you do get a Tourney, and it's nice to see that on a bike in this price range. The freewheel's a 14 to 28 tooth, but it's not a Shimano like we saw on the $200 Upland. It's a Sunrun brand. You see, there's also a quick release on that rear wheel. And this makes the Upland Valor, think about this, front and rear quick release, trigger shifters, a threadless headset, and a tourney derailleur for $119 out the door. I think I need to send Dad back to pick one of these up, because dollar per feature, this is one of the best values I've seen, and I want to inspect that headset. I also peeked around the corner and looked at the very Walmart-esque helmet selection. I also had some bike accessories, nothing standout or no standout deals, but lots of Bell branding. Lots of Bell. But still a decent selection of goods that should keep service members and their families riding and at fair prices. So there are some potentially appealing big box bike deals to be had at an Army PX or an Air Force BX. So what do you think about that Upland Valor? Is it a no or is it a go? But before I go, I want to remind you that there is even more content and perks available as a patron, including a chance at a random shoutout. And today's patron shoutout goes to Aldair C. Thanks so much. If you want to join Aldair and the other patrons, there's a link in the description. Patrons also get free KevCentral stickers for as little as $2 a month. Thanks again to you, Aldair C, and patron or not, thanks to everyone for watching this video. And being a subscriber, it's always free. So don't miss out and make sure you have that notification bell active. And as always, have a great day.